Hi everyone, my name's Dan and I'm a data analytics consultant with the Information Lab. Today we're tackling Alteryx challenge number 466, and for this week's challenge we're looking into macros. So the requirement of this challenge is asking us to take a collection of movie data which is spread across multiple tabs, and we need to consolidate it into one single tab, one spreadsheet. In terms of those requirements, we're also required to filter out two of those tabs, the Online Film TV Association tab and the Warren Miller tab, as you no longer wishes to maintain them. We're using a macro to consolidate all the tabs into a spreadsheet, and the final output contains these 5 fields. So let's take a look at our inputs. We have a list of sheet names in the first input. This has 18 sheets that we will need to consolidate, and then we also have the file path in there as well. For our second input in the movie inventory challenge is the spreadsheet itself. So this is a XLSX file, and in here you can see we've got a table of data for each of the tabs. At the moment we're selected onto one tab, it's the BP tab, but we've got the same list as the other input in here. Let's take a look at our output. So our output contains one single sheet and it has those 5 fields along the top. We've got the titles listed alphabetically starting from numbers. We've got a year column, we've got the rating, we've got the status and the original tab, which appears to be the first letter of the tab name. So that's the end goal that we need to get to. Let's just break down what we need to do again. So our requirements are to filter out those 2 tabs that we no longer need. We then need to create a file path with the sheet name appended onto the end of that, and that enables us to then go ahead and build our macro. Once that's complete, we can then go ahead and clean and rename the fields, and then that will be the challenge done. So let's begin with the filtering first of all. So we can head to our preparation pane and we can head to the filters tool. We can drag our list of sheet names to our filter, and in here we can select our sheet name. So sheet name doesn't equal, and then we can type this out, online film TV SOC. Let's just change that as the wrong way around. So exclamation mark and equals means it doesn't equal. And then because we've got the second tab, we can go ahead and copy and paste that in again. We can use the AND function, which will pick up both of those rows. And for the second one, we need to type in Warren Miller. So now when we press run on here, we can see that out of our false anchor, we have those 2 sheet names, so they're no longer included in the path, but we have a list of 16 sheet names just along the bottom here. Right. Our next task is then to create the file path. So essentially what we're doing here is we're creating the file path that will read into the macro, and then it will be the macro's opportunity to then pull in each of those tables into our data set. So to do that, we can use the formula tool. We can go ahead and rename this column something like file path. And then we want to take the name of the spreadsheet. So we can copy and paste that from our movie inventory challenge file. If you wrap some speech marks around that, we can turn it into a string. But on the end of this, we want to use these 3 characters, which basically enables us to show the file path lineage of the Excel spreadsheet to the tab. And to add the tab, we just add our plus sign, and then we can type in sheet name. And we drag this out so you can see the full thing. And you can see in the data preview, it looks something like this. So you've got the name of the spreadsheet and then the tab just behind it. We go ahead and hit run there. We can take a look at our preview and we can see that we've got the file path again with the sheet name and the tab name. Awesome. So now we've got that, we can read that into our macro. So essentially what we're doing with the macro is we're asking it to read in each of those rows at one time. So it'll read in one table, it'll read in the next table, and then it'll read in the next one by one. So to do that, we need to go ahead and create a new sheet. So I've named this one here macro sheet, and then we can drag in our input tool. From here, we want to set up a connection and we want to select that Excel spreadsheet. So it's this one here, movie inventory challenge 1. And then we can just leave it as the first sheet. And then once that's finished being read in, it will then move on to the next sheet and so on and so forth. So we can go ahead and click OK there. We are still interested in pulling that file name through as a field. So we can go ahead and see option number 5. Currently selected as no, but we can update that to full path. And you'll see that change in a second. In order for us to turn that into a macro, we need to add in our control parameter. This basically controls what information is being read into the macro. So with that now on the canvas, we can drag our magnifying glass down to our lightning bolt. Let's give it some more space, and that will automatically pull in your action tool. And here the configuration, we can select update value, and then we can select our file. So effectively, this is just going to read in each of those file paths individually. Next, we need to finish off this macro. We need to push it back out into our workflow. So we go ahead and use our macro output tool, and we connect that up to our input tool. Now the final step is in the interface designer. So in here we can select our properties, and then we just want to update our output mode to auto configure by name. So essentially what this will do is it will detect if our schema, if the tables are different, so if each of those sheets have got slightly different fields, then we can still union it all together. If you have the first one selected, then it will just it will return an error because the macro identifies that it doesn't have the same structure between each tab. So with that all done, we can hit run. In terms of our output and what we can see, we've got 103 records, but it's just for the first sheet. What will happen is when we push this through our challenge workflow, it will just add on each of those new tabs onto the end of the table. So this is the state that we want to see. Go ahead and click save on that. And then if we right click onto our formula tool, we can select insert after macro, and it might be hidden behind me here. But you can select macro and you can type in, and then you'll find the macro that you've just named. So mine's called macro sheet. So that's going to drag in there. From here, we can configure this to push the right field through. So we're interested in the file path. So once the formula tool, it's going to push our file path into the macro, and then it's going to return that table of data. Awesome. Go ahead and click run, and then we can see the output. So now we've returned 2,463 fields. So now we can start cleaning and tidying up the data. So we head back to our preparations tool. We can begin with our title to begin with. What we want to do here is we have a list of titles that have null values. So we want to filter those out to begin with. So to do that, we can use the filter tool again. We can select our title and we can go with is not null. Hit run again. And then out of our true anchor, we've got all our rows where title is there. And then out the false anchor, we've got those filtered out fields where title is null. Now, because we want it in alphabetical order, we can then go ahead and use the sort tool. We drag that in and connect that to our true anchor. We can then select our field title, ordered by ascending, or hit run on that again. And now we're beginning with the numbers, and then it works its way down. Awesome. So next step is to create that field which has just the letter, the first letter of the tab. There's multiple ways you can do this. I'm going to use the regex tool. So I'm going to drag that in from our parse tools. And from here, we can go ahead and select our column to parse. So we're interested in our file name because that's got the sheet name at the end of it. We want the output mode to be parse. And then if we go ahead and select one of these file names, we can see the data that we're working with. So we can see the full file path here. Essentially what this is going to do is trying to find matches in that data. So if we take our three icons, three characters here, and the name of the tab, you can copy and paste that into your regular expression. Because everything else is consistent, we don't need the rest of it. Now, because what we're interested in capturing is the end of that field, we can use the we can tokenize this by adding in our brackets. We can get rid of all the text that's in there, and we can do a full stop and a plus, which means it's going to capture, sorry, an asterisk, it's going to capture everything after these three icons. But we need regex to identify those. So because these are special characters, we have to use a /, as you can see there. And in terms of our output, we can just leave it as regex out because we'll rename that one afterwards. So now if we hit run on that, we can see that if I drag this all the way along, we've got just the list. I might have to drag this up because my head's in the way. You can just see at the top here, we've got the regex out and we've got the list of sheet names again. So that's just one way to do it. If I resize that, so now just to get the first letter, we can drag in our formula tool. From here, we can, because the name is different to what we want it to be, I think it's original tab. Original tab. We can go ahead and use the left function. You've got a little preview there. So our first element we can add in is our string, which is our regex out field. And then the len means length. So we're interested in the first character from the left. And you can see in the preview here, it's just capturing that first letter. Once again, I can hit run. And if I drag this along again, you can see we've got the original tab with just the first letter. So final step is pretty straightforward. We just need to go ahead and clean this up. So we can use our select tool. We can connect that up to our formula tool. And a little trick here is, we've got loads of fields here that we don't need, but we can go ahead and select options, select and deselect all. It means we don't have to just tick everything. We can go ahead and select the fields we want. So we've got title, we've got year, we've got status, we've got original tab, and there's one more. Let's just double check that. Rating. But you'll notice here that rating, we've got a full number, not a decimal. But in our current data set, we have two of those fields. So we've got rank as the full number and rating as the decimal. So we just need to rename our rank field as rating. Rank as rating. We can select that as a field that we're interested in. And then we can go ahead and reorder these. So we want title, we want year, title, year, rating, status, original tab. So title, year, rating, let's drag that up. Rating, status, and original tab. And the final step, we can just tidy this up and give them consistent field labels. So rating, we have status, and then original tab is fine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. We can hit run on that again. So now we can add in our browse tool just to check everything up. So if we hit run, our output contains 2,404 records. We have title, year, rating, status, original tab. And if we head back to our output, desired output, we have 2,404 records. We have title, year, rating, status, and original tab. So that's the challenge complete. As I say, there's multiple ways to complete this solution, but if you like this one, don't forget to drop a like and don't forget to subscribe because we'll have more solutions coming along soon. Thank you for watching.